Welcome back to the People's Convention presented by AMAC and Turning Point. We're here with the Ben Bergquam of
FrontlineAmerica.com, founder and a host of Law and Border on Real America's Voice News. Actually, I have our next episode tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Eastern on Real America's Voice.
Great. So what are you going to be covering tomorrow? I know you've been traveling quite a bit. You've actually been on the northern border of recent.
Yep.
Tell us what's happening, why you're on the northern border, what's going on there.
Well, right now we see the destruction of our country in real time.
Yeah.
The southern border it's not just bad, it's the death of America if it's allowed to continue, and it's not by accident. So we've been covering that for several years. This next episode will include some of that. It's a continuation of a trip we made from San Diego to the Gulf of Mexico, and several stops along the way, exposing the organizations that are behind this, a lot of the NGOs, and really the politicians that are behind it as well. The northern border is kind of the new no man's land, the new frontier. Really, yeah, it is. Partly because of what's happening at our southern border, it's created this distraction to allow the cartels to exploit the northern border. Now, they've been doing that for years already. A lot of people don't realize that. The Sinaloa cartel in particular operates, obviously, not just in Mexico.
You think of Sinaloa, I think of like the Arizona southern border.
That's their prime area. So between Arizona and the Sonoran Desert, and then down into Tijuana. And there's always battling between, you've got the CGNG and all these other cartels. They're constantly battling over turf. But they also operate not just in Mexico, but in the United States and every major metropolitan area across our country, and in Canada. A lot of people don't realize that. And so we're doing, and other cartels as well. And so there's this battling for turf. So what's happening on our northern border is a direct result of what's happening on our southern border. And what we're seeing initially is, I wouldn't say it's more concerning, but it's just as concerning. And all you have to do is look at like the Swanson border region between
is that exactly?
New Hampshire, Vermont, and part of New York.
Yeah.
This area, it's basically unmanned. So you have a few border patrol or border crossings, a few customs checkpoints at the border, but otherwise there's no wall, there's no border patrol. I went from Maine to the edge of Vermont, right next to the New York border, and in that entire drive, I saw 3 border patrol agents. Outside of the checkpoints, or the ports of entry, I saw 3. And everywhere you go, it's open. So, outside of a physical barrier, a river, there's nothing else. And in particular, in this area outside of Lake Champlain, right where it's the border of New York, Vermont, and Canada. On the Vermont side, you go up there and there is nothing. There's actually cornfields that are in Canada and a road that's in the United States. And I was talking to Border Patrol up there. They couldn't go on camera, but he said this area, they just flow across every day. They actually flow both directions. So you have illegals in America that are working with the cartels, taking money back across to Canada to launder their money. But then you also have illegals in America who realized that what they were told wasn't necessarily true. They get to America, they get to an inner city, and they say, wait a second, this isn't what I was told. Now there's these benefits, freebies in Canada because of all the socialist programs over there.
And they can't last forever there, So
so now they're going across. But then you also have the reverse of that, where you have all of these people now flying into Canada, huge numbers from China, from the Middle East, and now the big country is India, that are into this pipeline that's run by the cartels as well. And now they're flowing back into the United States, and there is nothing stopping them. So when you look at one of these, these sectors on our northern border, saying that they get 12,000 people in a month, this is unheard of years ago. I mean, we're talking numbers that are unheard of. That's the ones they've caught.
Oh yeah.
The scary thing that I see, and the same things on our southern border, are the gotaways. On the southern border, you have some idea of it because of our infrastructure, because of the camera network, because of Border Patrol, the process of dragging and counting footsteps. On the northern border, you virtually have none of that. So when we get a number of gotaways on the northern border, you might as well just make up a number.
We have no idea.
Clue.
And it goes unspoken, but a lot of people say, we're from New York. AMAC is a company based out of Bohemia, and they'll say, oh, you're not a border community, you're not a border town. Well, most people don't know that up on Long Island, where AMAC is based, we have some of the highest placements of unaccompanied minors in the country.
Yeah.
So for the past decade, we've seen the seeding of, It's no wonder why for the past 10 years you've had this increase in gang violence, this increase of drug trafficking in the communities. It's because a large majority of those unaccompanied minors, those UACs as they call them, have been put into these communities up in the north.
Yeah.
So it's interesting now to see people using no longer the southern border, now the northern border, wholly unprotected. It's odd to, I mean, it's not odd. It just seems like the next step, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the other side of that is everything that comes across the southern border goes somewhere. So
Right.
whether you're in the middle of the country on the border or in the north of the country, you're getting huge numbers of illegals that are being shipped to your neighborhoods. And then you're also having that northern flow, the northern push as well. So
Yeah.
it's bad everywhere.
Yeah.
And our whole objective, my objective, is to expose it. We go to the places the mainstream media doesn't want to go,
Absolutely.
or doesn't want the story to be told. And we go to those places, whether it's the Darien Gap or the southern border, or Mexico, Central America. I'm actually heading to the UK to cover their elections next week, but it's also, we'll be there covering the illegal immigration, the impacts there, because the enemy that's driving this in America, the United Nations, UNHCR, OIM, and all of these NGOs, Catholic Charities, Lutheran Social Services, Jewish Family Services, there's 9 primary. They're the same organizations, global organizations around the world that are undermining Western countries
And
everywhere.
it seems as though, here Americans don't really get to see what's going on in the UK, what's going on particularly in France right now. The way that the government's run, the legislature is wholly different. So we don't quite understand the power controls, the controls of lever. For example, what's happening with the huge defeats right now, the huge defeats, from the right to the left in France, for example, goes wholly unnoticed here in the United States. So it seems analogous to what's going on here.
Yeah, there's no question about it. There is a populist, conservative right uprising around the world, and we're seeing that. I was speaking in Romania a few weeks ago.
Okay.
You're seeing that on the Eastern Bloc, Eastern Europe, but you're also seeing that as in France and Belgium and Sweden this summer, in the Netherlands. So you're seeing that, the impacts, and it really goes back to, again, these outside influences coming in. It goes back to the World Economic Forum, and the global reset, the Great Reset, whatever you want to call it. It's all tied back to that. And finally, these countries that have been destroyed for decades, and we're behind what they're doing to America. They did 15, 20 years ago in Europe. They've been pumping this in. And the difference in America is it's, large numbers from Central America, from Catholic nations. In Europe, it's almost exclusively from North African, Middle Eastern, Islamic countries. That,
like in the Netherlands, you have Morocco. That you can look back and it's a direct migration 1-to-1. Before Gaddafi left, what did he say? That he was, if they ever get rid of me in North Africa, I am basically the bottle cap of the migration to Europe. So look what happens. We saw he died. Hillary Clinton laughs about it, and it's all projection, it seems, for quite some time.
It is. And the battle, people need to understand, it's all connected.
Yeah.
So the organizations, the fights, whether you're fighting the southern border, whether you're fighting election fraud, whether you're fighting the transgender weaponization of sexuality on our children, all of this stuff comes, to me, it's all good versus evil. And it's up to this generation to stand on the side of good. And that's really why I do what I do. It's why our network does what we do. It's why we partner with organizations like AMAC. We love what you guys do. And really, it's about the people putting your money and your time and your efforts into the things that you believe in. So support the companies you believe in, that support the values you believe in, support the networks that support the values you believe in, and come together in fighting in all of these spheres. So the left does it. They've weaponized every area of society. It's time that we do it on the right and come together and say, okay, we're all part of this body. It's time that we fight in the same direction and fight together.
Absolutely. So Ben, before we let you go, please tell our listeners how they can support you further in all your endeavors that you're pursuing right now.
Well, tune in to Law and Border on Real America's Voice News. You can also find all of our reports on frontlineamerica.com. I've got a great writer, Carrie Donovan, over there, putting out news stories every day. On Substack, it's Frontline America. And then all my social medias at Ben Bergquam or Frontline America. So if you search Ben Bergquam, last name's Bergquam, you'll find everything. I think it's on the screen as well. So you'll find it.
All right. We thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Best of luck to you.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
And we'll be back. We're going to go to the main stage, and we'll be back shortly. Thank you so much.